Jibba jabba 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 jibba jibba. Jibba jibba jibba. Jibba. Jibba 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 jibba.
Cool. Justin?
Jibba jabba 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 jibba.
That's not me. That's not me, ladies and gentlemen. It's Andrew Main. I'm here. Justin Young.
Alrighty. Brian?
Yo, this is me. I don't say jibber jabber because that's racist. I say whoobada
Whoops.
because everybody knows that's what white people have to say.
White people.
Not racist.
We're so lame.
Not racist.
Not racist.
Not racist.
Cool. Ooh.
Riddy bitty bing 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 bitty 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 bee. Yeah.
Ooh.
So right now, if somebody goes to diamondclub.tv, they are testing out the new Diamond Club streaming.
Yes, this is the Sergeant Muffin's rolled CDN, Video Delivery Network. That's what CDN stands for, is Video Delivery Network. And
Oh wow, that's low latency, man.
yeah,
That's only a few seconds.
right.
Wait,
Like
Sergeant
right now,
Muffin
wiping
built
the
his
grease off
own
my
thing?
forehead.
Yeah, he has got servers rented out, and it's doing all the encoding for us, and we believe it will be cheaper than Meta CDN. So the long-term goal is to have you guys eventually transition to that.
Yeah, which is and again, this is a good problem. But Meta CDN, we were buying a year at a time in advance, and occasionally, we just used it as I don't want to say tragedy of the commons, but we used it as a common resource. And now the bills are coming in, and it's getting to be a few $100s every month that are going to Meta CDN. So this is a hugely beneficial thing if we could kick some money over to Sergeant Muffin servers instead.
I
Absolutely.
would very much prefer that.
Yeah.
And one of the nice things is that for each show you guys do, you can have a separate stream key, so that when the stream goes live, you have the show's icon on the website instead of the generic Meta CDN
Oh, that's
icon.
great.
The chat room can say what the show
I
is.
love the fact that we have some infrastructure built here by a Mr. or Mrs. Sergeant Muffin, and I'd like to think when we have our Diamond Club Mars colony,
Holy
like,
crap,
oh yeah,
that's low latency.
Yeah, right? That's what I'm saying.
system, it's built by.
It's literally lower latency than Andrew's Skype connection.
Oh man.
Are you back, Andrew?
No, I think we lost Andrew.
Oh no!
Let's
And oh no! By the way, I was re-listening to our Auntie Donna.
Was it as good as I remember it, or we were a little bit?
It was good. I was very proud of us. It was very funny. I think they're good notes for us to take interview wise. Because I think the one thing that we do need to evolve on is like we were good at doing the interview, but like we were so excited that we stepped on them during their responses, like almost on every question. And it's one of those things where it's like, I know, because like in the moment I felt like, oh my God, we gotta ask them questions. We're running out of questions. Like, and there's a point where like I asked them like, so what's the difference between Australian and American crowds? And you're like, have you ever heard of the fundamentals? Like, and it's like, these are like questions that you really only get to when you feel like there are no questions left. And yet we kept stepping on them while they were like answering. So it's like, it's a good note. It was a good evolutionary interview because I think it was good, but it is one of those things that I think going forward will be better served to take a deep breath. And let it breathe a little bit more. But now that we've done a good one, I feel like we can have the patience to do it.
Yeah, so much of that also, man. I just wish there was a slightly. It doesn't even have to be like a evolutionary leap forward. I just wish there was a slightly better solution than Skype. That Skype lag is just agonizing. That extra half second to a second. I mean, it shapes what the thing can be, and for guys like those, who are so fast, I would just love it if, I don't know, we had dedicated bandwidth to go straight to them.
Persimmon. Andrew, are you back?
I don't know.
You are back to us now. You were discussing Sergeant Muffin, and I was remarking because you had just said Mr. or Mrs. and like within 3 seconds he yelled "Mister," which was like mind-blowing that latency is that low and that quick. But if you wanted to finish your point.
Oh, just that it's our use of these names and nicknames that when we're on the Diamond Club Mars colony, 100 years from now, we'll be talking about, oh yeah, this was built by Pezmaster over here. Yeah, Teddy Bear 101. He installed our launch pad here. Our entire environmental support system that was built by Stabbing Panda #2.
I mean, what's funny is like I think that is the future that we're headed towards. And when you think about like when you had me read Player of Games, Master of Games by Ian Banks. Player of Games by Ian Banks, and they mentioned the Starship. Read the effing manual or something like that.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, that is how nonsensical names are going to become in the future because they're already here.
And remember, the funny thing about the name of the starships in Player of Games is who then used them.
Yeah, Elon Musk used them for the
drone ships.
movable, the landing things.
There are multi-million-dollar vessels used for the return of rocket ships that now have these fanciful names that came out of this novel that are vital part of our space program.
Yeah. And good riddance to acting like names have to be. I mean, NASA needs to get their heads out of their ass when it comes to naming things. Just let people name anything as ridiculous as you want. It's got to be really Kepler Object 2790 Delta B or whatever.
I had this really funny moment. I went to Blizzard did their Hearthstone North American Championships in San Francisco. So Willie Dills Gregory got a press pass and got me on the press list. So I went there. And the venue that they did it at had, like it were any sports playoff, all these banners on the front of the venue and inside with all the finalists that had made it to this tournament. But because they are all streamers and they're all people who they're using their Hearthstone names, it's like Hot Form and VLPS and Mole Gel and everything. So it's just like these incomprehensible. You don't know how to pronounce them. They're just like this amazing, insignias of these names that are, you made up. Many people made up when they were 11, and as for whatever reason stuck with them.
The esports commentators are like that too, where they just go by their nickname. It's kind of like when people are really into YouTube stars, and so they're just like, oh, it's Tyler,
Yeah,
but it's not a real name, or it's not a.
I'm very glad that I at a fairly early age decided to just start going real name on all usernames. I'm very glad that at the point that we got any notoriety for anything that we've done, I was using Justin R. Young and not like Dr. Funk 02, my first AIM screen name.
Wait, really?
Yeah, Dr. Funk 02.
I was Kronos, CHRONOS.
And that's, you think about the ones where you have like the O2 or whatever, when like years of graduation years are like the most important thing. Like, man, that year I graduate, that's going to be a big deal for the rest of my life. And then a year later you're in college or you're elsewhere and like, man, that's like it's kind of old number there. That's
that actually, it was O2 because there was another Dr. Funk. And it auto-populated O2. I graduated in 01. That wasn't even me thinking about the year I was going to graduate high school. It was literally just there was another Dr. Funk. And I'm like, well, I mean, what are you going to do? There's another Dr. Funk. I guess I'll be Dr. Funk 02.
Dr. Funk MD.
Well, God, Andrew, this is why you've always been there for me.
Dude, I'm so very in love with the fact that there are 4 channels running right now on diamondclub.tv. It just makes me so happy that we have such an active community.
When we have the Mars colony, it'll be at least 5 or 6.
Yeah,
exactly.
One will be the plant growing channel.
All right, guys, I'm ready. If y'all
Well,
are.
good for you.
It's great. I'm glad you could join us, Bryce.
Of all the people I can be sarcastic and mean to, Bryce is the one I should not be.
No.
I mean, I shouldn't be that to anybody, but really not Bryce.
All right, if you guys are ready for the countdown. Ooh,
That's usually a great sound. That means good things are coming.
That's great. Okay, well, 5, 4, 3, 2.
Welcome to the Weird Things Podcast. I'm Andrew Main, always here, every single Despite what your lying ears may tell you.
I'm sorry,
That's
you Skype
Brian
lagged out.
Brushwood.
You Skype lagged out halfway through that sentence. We heard, I'm always here. And then we got nothing for 3 seconds. I'm so sorry, man. That was amazing.
Let's try one more time.
From the top.
All right.
Hello and welcome to the Weird Things podcast. I'm Andrew Main. I'm always the host here, even if it may seem like I'm not, but I am, regardless of whatever kind of Skype interruptions I inevitably will have. Joining me, as usual, my compatriots, Brian Brushwood,
Hello, beautiful people. It's good to be here.
Justin Robert Young.
Hello, friends.
Well, gentlemen, last we spoke, it was brought up that we don't have enough goblin news. And on last episode, you guys did touch on a money-raising project to try to do an exorcism to get rid of a goblin terrorizing a village.
Yeah.
And this may be a follow-up article to this, because there was in the Zimbabwe Daily, which is my go-to source for all news, there was an article that says the notorious Cowdray Park goblin exorcised.
Oh, God.
Now, hold on. I thought up until this moment that goblins were their own species. But if it's exorcised, that would imply that secretly they're demon-controlled vessels?
Well, Brian, I think, if you may
Metaphorical exercised.
remember, we kind of stopped covering goblins because we realized that, one, it was a mistranslation of spirit, and two, that many of these goblin outbreaks were probably the local shaman using some sort of date rape drug on people, and it took a very, very darker turn. But people missed that, so we're back covering it anyways, because, hey.
Well, so what are the details of this exorcism? How did they get rid of the goblins?
So what they did is they brought in a team of Tikisimandas. I guess that's probably Zimbabwe for Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
And,
Great
I
on a
imagine you guys
euro.
in proton packs or whatever, the locally built version of that. They stepped in there and they exorcised the notorious goblin by the name of Ernest.
I thought per our conversation before Weird Things, I thought he was going to be like Ernest Lover 972 or some kind of like internet chat room name.
No. Brian, know what I mean, Vern? Ernest.
Yeah. You're talking about the fantastic comedian Jim Varney, rest his soul.
I
'Cause he
mean,
died.
did he go to jail next?
Well-
Did he go to camp?
So
Ernest
one would
inhabits a
expect a
goblin.
somber mood during the exorcism ritual, but Cowdray Park residents could not hide their joy to see a hunt and killing of the notorious goblin by 4 Tisiki mantises.
Okay.
Wait, hold on. It was killed, not exercise. Boo, goblin, get out of here. They murdered a thing.
Oh, yes. Let me get to the details, gentlemen. All right. And whoever, I feel skepticism out there. Shut up. Shut up. All right.
Sorry, I'll stop.
The
I'll stop.
darkest version of the Ernest movies ever, and that's including the one time that he got the electric chair and wound up getting electric powers from it.
Which can happen. During the exercising ceremony, the leader of the team, who identified himself as Vinkman, or Mafia Cavera, is that it's pronounced locally,
It's not Stance.
said the owner of the goblin failed to pay the dues of a certain traditional healer who was getting back at her by sending the creature to terrorize her, which, by the way, is one of Bernie Sanders' plans for how to increase the tax base on the rich. You went to seek for prosperity help with your husband, but failed to pay the dues of the person who helped you. He got angry and wanted to punish you severely. He wanted you to die a painful death, he said. Vinkman. I'll just call him Vinkman. He said, due to the hardship of the economy, people now resort to other forms of wrenching cells. And this is where we get to the cool part, all right? After minutes of exorcism, the team emerged from the house with a scary creature similar to a rat with a horn and feathers.
What?
Okay. Let's.
Residents could not stop commenting on their different experience with Ernest. I woke up at night one day and found my wife acting like she was enjoying sexual activities with someone. I cannot wait for this thing to remove today, commented a resident to Giuliani Dube.
Oh my God, this poor lady. She's just trying to enjoy a few moments of self-love and to pretend that her husband is. And then,
You're reading too much into that, Brian.
I disagree.
Another woman, Naomi, said she heard Ernest clapping his hands as she was bathing. I was terrified when I heard Ernest clapping his hands, saying I must hurry up and finish the bathing as he could not wait any longer. Some of the women said when they were being raped by the goblin, they were in some kind of dream. I could dream about sleeping with a white man, and when I wake up in the morning, it would be as if I was involved with a man, said another resident.
Okay, so this is actually, I mean, there's a fairly long history of incubi and succubi. You know, this idea that sleep paralysis, you would wake out of sleep. It manifests itself everything from alien abductions to the idea of demons sitting on your chest. That and you in that weird middle
Promises
ground
of commitment.
between waking and dreaming, you would have dreams of sexual congress, or if a guy had a wet dream, he would say, "Oh, I'm sorry, it was a succubus came in the middle of the night and she forced me. That's why the demon seed got out." Is that what's happening here? There's just more of those same archetypes?
I think there are a couple factors involved. One is certainly the idea that we need to be conscious of the fact that, hey, maybe goblins are real, and I don't want to downplay what these people are
Could
saying.
actually be Ernest.
Ernest is a goblin, and he's done everything that everybody said.
Could be the ghost of Ernest Hemingway. He's sitting there with long-winded prose the entire time that he has sex with you.
In my narrow Western-minded point of view, which is actually is sort of a racist statement because it implies that empiricism is uniquely Western when it's not. Many other cultures have embraced it too. So, but in my paternalistic, narrow-minded Western point of view, I would suggest there are two factors at play. One, that there is an element of hysteria, that it just starts where everybody, as you said, any kind of account or any kind of weird thing all of a sudden becomes, oh yeah, I had that happen too. We've seen these outbreaks. These things happen in Western cultures too. Let's not be, narrow-minded here. Second, there's always like a village shaman or somebody like that is associated with it. And shaman in many, many different cultures is a euphemism for your local drug supplier. It's you see that here, like, oh yeah, I have a shaman I buy mushrooms from. Like, he's a drug dealer. No, he's a shaman.
He's a spiritual guide. He gets me right.
It sells me weed.
Go ahead and anybody who is into some of the New Age stuff that will tell you about the clarity they had during an ayahuasca trip, usually involves some degree of a shaman, a spiritual guide that leads you through this hallucinogenic experience, which is very popular these days.
Yeah.
Especially where I'm
that's part of it, so that we always find these elements. And I suspect that many of these villages, there are scopolamine, there are these other kinds of drugs and things like that that cause a lot of these same symptoms, this paralysis systems, and they're how people can be sexually abused. I think we may be seeing examples of that. I think we may be seeing people being drugged and potentially people being abused and it being blamed on a goblin, because a lot of times the focus comes back to, we've seen cases where people have then admitted to it, like the local shaman's like, yeah, no, I was the goblin that I made, hiding, his stash of whatever, like, yeah, it's the goblin did it. So I think that's a component too. I think it's hysteria combined with that. Or, it's goblins.
Okay, so let's deconstruct, because we have an eyewitness account, it sounds like, of killing a feathered something or other. What do you think actually got killed?
Well, it sounds like the reporter or there is, again, not to say that being classically educated at the S.I. Newhouse School of Public Communications in Syracuse, New York, gives me any kind of journalistic high ground. But there are a lot of problems with this story that, were I to line edit it, I would be sending it right back for another review. Very thinly sourced, and we don't know whether or not it's clear that the exorcism was done in front of the reporter, or the reporter is just taking the word of the shaman.
Might I suggest something else too? Assuming everything happened in front of the reporter, as you covered last week on Weird Things, we talked about that there was a fundraiser to hire exorcists to go do this. This was a paid service. Cash money of the local equivalent was exchanged hands in return for results, and that result was going to be exorcism. Now, we had this skepticism about an exorcism because, well, how do you know? Like, oh yeah, I waved my hands, it happened. But no, they had proof. The people who got paid had proof. They walked out of this hut with some rat-like thing with a beak or whatever. I suggest, I'm not saying, because I don't know how libel and slander law works there. I would suggest it's entirely possible these exorcists just made something and then brought it out. And like, look what we got, their own smoking trap.
Oh, so you don't think that it was a when you say made a thing? Do you think they made it out of like a dead monkey corpse and then they shaved it,
or
or
rat and a bird?
Yeah.
I mean, that's it feathers and rat. I mean, it shoved some rat feathers rat feathers. That's a new thing. They shoved some feathers into a rat or whatever.
Yeah.
So, all right. I guess that would be my next question. But, heat's on you guys. You're of course, not like this, which was the actual exorcism of a goblin. But let's say you were to forge it. What is?
I love the fact that we're so nervous about a tribe in Zimbabwe tracking down the Weird Things podcast and giving us legal guff.
It is the Weird Things ethos, hey, maybe.
Yeah,
but
until it's proved otherwise, we don't know.
Let's say that you were going to forge it. What would you guys just go with rat and tape some feathers onto a rat? Like, if you were to go the full P.T. Barnum, what would P.T. Barnum do to prove that he had just successfully killed a goblin?
I mean, it seems like in general a shaved because a goblin is a vaguely human-like item, so I would say however you fake an alien.
Brian, sorry, that's your own prejudice speaking.
Yeah, well, no, I mean bipedal is what I mean. I mean, are goblins four-legged animals, or you tell me? Maybe it's my Western bias that I think they're
shapeshifters, Brian.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I mean, they go on beer runs. They're the wacky quests in World of Warcraft. They're not. I mean, their blast mages are okay in Hearthstone. But I mean, goblins are not the most respected.
Your Western expectations on this.
I mean,
Brian.
elves are way better than goblins. Can we just say it? Can we just say it?
Stay on target. Stay on target. You guys have to. You guys have to fake a goblin. Andrew, it sounds like by your high roading of Brian that you have an idea.
I think that it doesn't have to be that complicated. Just sew a bird head on a rat, shove some feathers into it, and then you produce it, and people want to get close. Like, oh no, don't get close to it. It's still stinking hot. Oh, don't photograph it because it'll swallow your soul. Now we got to quickly dispose of this really important evidence that would overturn everything we know about Western science, religion, and the world before something bad happens.
So is this? Neshcom is saying in the chat room that they burned it. So is it just something where they could have had the entire village gathered and then they are at a safe? So after being paraded to residence, it was burnt. So you could just bring it around the town. It's kind of pandemonium. People are trying to get a look at it, and then you throw it right on a bonfire, and that's it. Everyone's seen it.
Yeah.
It's proven to exist.
You throw a little bit of granulated copper in there so you get a nice green flame when it throws into the fire. I mean, that would be pretty impressive. You get some sparklers in there.
Play a spooky soundtrack,
Only you don't have a tape player, so you're like dun 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 dun.
Oh, no, it's not even a score. It's just like the old haunted house mix where it's just like an old creaky door and like a singing saw, like
and a witch going, "Come inside, my pretty."
Here's the thing to think about too: is that we at face value we can pretty much assume that somebody made a friggin' goblin corpse to just know these people over.
See, I'm surprised.
It's 2015. It's 2015. This is something they did in the Dark Ages, and it's still happening.
I mean, and to be honest, it would still work. You still get people forwarding old photos of the Fiji mermaid around, like, well, then explain this. And then it's like, yeah, no, Google image reverse search. Here's where you got that photo.
This also goes to just my general distrust for small towns worldwide.
Yeah, true. And Brian, and you brought up a very interesting point, though. If people know what a Google image reverse search is, they're not forwarding around pictures of the Fiji mermaid thinking that it's real.
Boom.
It's point. It's like, remember when you used to have to send Snopes to people to a lot more often? Like, what about this? All right, there's a place you can go to find out if this stuff is BS. Ooh, the internet? Like, no, here. Well, who are they? I don't know. People who look into this stuff to find out if it's BS,
Yeah. Well, and in fact, Snopes did a very noble thing on I think it was an April Fool's Day entry they made. They made a completely bogus article about how Mr. Ed was, in fact, a zebra and not a horse. And they did it with the express intention of being all like, look, don't trust even us. If you read this article and you believed it, then you're falling for like we've taught you nothing, because just all you've done is substitute us for, the authority figure that you had before. Do something smarter.
Science is a process, kids. It is a process. It's not a room full of people telling you what the facts are. It's not a book. Science is a process. That process does not stop.
Science is not a Facebook group.
No.
I want to make a Facebook group called Science is not a Facebook group.
Except for this one. No, but seriously, this one is where the real science happens.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, gentlemen, it's not easy bringing you the latest Goblin news.
Well, I mean,
Hell no.
no, it's we have to wait for you to read all the articles. We have to show up almost on time.
And frankly, if we plan on sending Bryce to Zimbabwe to firsthand investigate this and put microphones in people's faces and cameras in their homes, and look into this, then we need, we need your support.
Scratch. Listen, we got to buy him a ticket, because it's only with a revenue ticket that I can give him one of my United upgrades, global upgrades that expires in January.
Okay.
We're going to send him to Zimbabwe. We're going to get to the bottom of this goblin epidemic. But the only way that can happen is if you support us at patreon.com/weirdthing.
And I hear you. Some of you guys are saying, like, I don't think they're actually going to send Bryce anywhere. I think that they're just going to have Bryce produce a solo 30-minute long radio play because they won't be able to tell whether or not he's actually in Zimbabwe. But you know what? Even if that is the case, even if we were hinting that maybe there would be the equivalent of a Weird Things pay-per-view special, and that we get to follow the audio adventures of Bryce Castillo a la Radiolab, a la 99% Invisible, as he tracks down one of the most important cryptids in the history of the world. I mean, I'd kick in some bucks over at patreon.com/weirdthings for that kind of thing.
Or we could make him wrestle a goblin.
Yeah, I think we could actually, we get to a certain level, I think we do have that happen. I mean, there's one thing for us to have him go hunt it down. If we're going to have Bryce actually fight a goblin, which can take physical form, we're going to need to put him through some sort of MMA classes, maybe like rodent control. It'll take a lot of skills, but I think he can do it.
I could take a goblin. I think I could take a goblin pretty easy.
Oh, look at that. Now he's getting cocky about it.
I don't know, dude. I mean, said the man who has yet to fight a goblin. I don't know. I get a feeling that we're going to get some sweet audio of what happens when you decide what happens when goblin claws start grabbing at your chest.
Oh, Spike in the chat room. Make him have sex with the goblin. Now you've gone too far.
Yeah,
we were having...
That's the $10,000 level, guys.
We were trying to have a serious discussion about Bryce Castillo being forced to go to Zimbabwe to fight a goblin, and now you made it ridiculous. Either way, go to patreon.com/weirdthings. Support this show. If we brighten your day or your week in any way possible, then we would appreciate that you pass a few ducats our way.
Yeah.
So, gentlemen, getting away from goblin news for a moment, I want to talk about a school closing in Zimbabwe. There was a gnashing of teeth at Shockaway Primary School when 6 pupils allegedly spotted a mystical, diminutive creature leapfrogging from one spot to another in the classroom as their teacher wrote an exercise on the chalkboard. Angry parents stormed the school on Monday to withdraw their children, saying the current environment was not conducive for learning. Well, no kidding. This was despite the fact that grade 7s will be sitting for exams next month. The Manaka Post gathered from pupils, parents, traditional leaders, and teachers that the alleged creature could be... Oh, wait, it is a goblin story. A goblin.
Oh, jeez. Zimbabwe.
Hold on. Wait for it.
That's an
it
unfair...
moved from one point to another in the grade 5 classroom. Parents were left convinced that the classroom was haunted following another mystical incident involving a donkey in 2013.
Okay, hold on. I do believe that there was an incident with a donkey in whatever year that was, but a mystical incident? Like a donkey shows up and swishes its tail and you get lighter and you float or something?
I don't know. Although, to keep the theme, I wonder if this goblin's name is Pee Wee Herman.
The alleged creature had contact with one of the kids, and the child's mother, Miss Patience Mendoza, said the minor was complaining of a hurting ear and headache.
I mean, let's face
Argue
facts.
with that, Brian.
Minors are always complaining of. There's two things. It's earaches and headaches that they have constantly.
Brian.
I mean, you know what? This is all right, and my children, my house is clearly infected with goblins. Goblins like.
Well, let's look at what we have here. Okay, we've got a goblin that is jumping around from what was it, from desk to desk or up on top of the building.
Desk to desk.
So jumping around from desk to desk, disturbing the kids. All of a sudden, a panic amongst the parents. They're pulling their kids out. They got tests coming up in a few weeks. It sounds like this goblin is a menace to education.
I would say so.
I mean, maybe he's just trying to liven things up. He's all like, book learning, boring, right, kids? Let me. 2 + 2 is 4. How many feet are balancing on your head as I juggle these apples?
The goblin's like, well, when Robin Williams did it, you gave him an Oscar.
All right, all seriousness, gentlemen, let's move. I'm going to change the topic entirely. I want to talk about the latest Mars information. Mars photos. We've got some more photographs coming back from Mars rover, and this is kind of. Oh wait, what is this? Oh, it's a goblin head on Mars.
What? A goblin head on Mars. The aliens must be putting out their Halloween decorations. When did this come out?
October 16th. Friday.
Wow, just a few days ago. Wow.
If you click the right
let's
arrow.
go ahead and
it'll
get
take you
a
to
closer look on that there, Nesh. Wait, okay, so look at the. Well, hello there.
I don't see the goblin.
So you
it's
got
like
the
a My
eye.
Little Pony. No, it's not the. It's no. I think he's more looking at us.
I like the. Wait, was that your drawing or that was the newspaper's drawings? I like the fact that you're disagreeing with the source's interpretation.
Well, they go to another one where they show us an example of Watu and Skeksis.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that. Yeah.
It
That,
does look like Watto.
That rock looks like it makes a unwise bet on Sebulba.
Either that or it chooses trial by stone.
Go to the next way. Go next.
Wins.
After that. Look in the lower left. Dinosaur skull.
Wait, this is what the butt?
That does look like a dinosaur skull. I'm trying, like, my skeptic goggles just fogged up with excitement, and I can't see through them properly now because
minute.
that's
This is on
definitely a
Mars?
T-Rex skull.
And then further on, there's the magic school bus.
Okay, are these just all the greatest hits of like crazy stuff we've seen in Martian pictures?
Pretty much. I mean, yeah.
This isn't all new stuff though.
No.
No. It's not like the Mars rover just like got bored and was like, yo, let's just take some pictures of some crazy stuff.
Well, I mean, in so many ways, though, like if you, so many conspiracy theories are look at noise, find some kind of signal in the noise. And it's like, what is Mars if not all the released photos being like an infinitely... It was like, if these were on the moon, these would all be proof that we didn't actually go to the moon. But instead, it's like, okay, well, maybe we did land, probes on Mars, but what kind of crazy stories can we make up involving ancient civilizations or analogs to things that we see nowadays? Like Sebulba's head, or I'm sorry, Watto's head, or the magic school bus, or Skeksis.
So here's kind of a interesting one is if you click ahead in the images, you'll see get to the Iron Cross.
The Iron Cross.
No.
Hold on. The Iron Cross was a symbol of the Third Reich, if I'm not mistaken, right?
It was used by other people before then.
Okay. Oh my God, that looks definitely swasty.
No.
It's a cross. It's not.
Looks a little swasty.
That's a cross. That's not a schwas. It's a cross.
Again, swasty.
It's not schwasti.
Take
Stop
off your
it.
pants and your underpants.
No. That's
Start a Reich.
It looks
Get
more
swasty.
like something medieval or the steering wheel.
I mean, it might be the glaive from that movie Kroll in 1982. I mean, it could be the glaive.
How many
I'll buy
times do
that.
you hear that? it might be the glaive from the movie Crawl.
The only thing that survived that movie was Liam Neeson. Well, gentlemen, what do you how do you explain that?
I mean, it doesn't matter. It's not on me to explain it. It's on
No,
them.
it is. I just asked you to explain it. It's
Okay.
very
And
much on
actually,
you.
we just told people that we get paid, so we explain things. So
Okay,
like,
fine.
make
You
the
want the
explanation?
explanation? Rocks be moving around a lot and getting tumbled and turning into shapes.
Brian, your skeptic brain is reaching there.
Oh,
You're
you
just
think so?
You're ignoring that this thing is clearly manufactured and made.
Ugh.
You've got a perfect sphere, perfect circle, a perfect circle there. You've got another half circle there. It absolutely looks like a manufactured thing. Absolutely looks like it's something that's made.
It does. I will not deny that. It is definitely enhanced by the circle drawn around it, but there are perfect circles that occur in nature all the time. We call them bubbles.
With
And it
crosses
turns out-
inside of them, things that look like actual. Like if I said this was the site of
cool your jets, Joe Rogan. Let me get finished. All right. There are bubbles, there are spheres, and then they create the things separately. We have a number of different things that create squares. We have salt crystals are squares. Snowflakes. The reason that snowflakes are 6-pointed stars is the same reason that that ice crystals form. Yes.
Brian.
Yes.
Show me an example of nature of something like this, of something with this degree. Just the cross would be amazing, and then the circle. Show me a thing. In nature
I could show you something from nature that looks exactly like this. Bryce, please bring up the image on that screen right there. There it is from nature, and it's exactly that because it's a totally
Brian,
natural.
You know what?
Thing.
You're so wrong. You're so wrong. Your tiny little skeptic mind's about to be busted because we know what it is.
What is it?
What?
I would love it if I'm totally wrong on this.
Type in you're so wrong. Type in an iron cross on Mars into Google as a search with a question mark.
Yep. Oh, it says debunked is the top Celtic cross on Mars. Impression
then?
from X-ray spectrometer.
The image of a cross in a circle on the surface of Mars is real. It's from the Opportunity rover Sol
That
3720.
was my thought.
It's from the microscopic imager camera, so it's quite small.
They press the camera up against the rock to go look at rocks that makes contact. So that is an impression from a man-made object on Mars.
Oh, it's the screws, yeah.
So that is the imprint of the screw that is protecting the camera.
Okay. But in true conspiracy theory form, I just want to double down and say that I'll bet you somewhere in the world is a naturally occurring formation that looks like that.
I'm sure somewhere in the world there is a naturally occurring formation of our three heads.
Right. In an infinite world of creation,
Yes.
there is.
Nailed it.
It was
Nailed
the best
it.
of times, it was the blurst of times.
Nailed it.
I apologize, Brian. I'm sorry.
Fair enough.
But that's a cool example of those something where we're going, and then wait, we did that? Oh.
Yeah, I was gonna say if it was like that, actually is not what I had thought. I thought maybe it was some sort of artifact of the camera, that there was some kind of reflection or artifacting like that.
I mean,
that-
is this in some way a mega version of the Heisenberg uncertainty principle, where it's like the very act of looking for a thing causes us to alter it? I mean, obviously, normally that's applied at the subatomic level, where there's no way for us to detect anything at that level without banging pieces of it around and affecting it in a big way. But in small ways, it makes me think of. One of the classic arguments that we never went to the moon was that, oh, look, here's the letter C that's on this rock. Clearly it's labeled by letter, when in fact it was an eyelash on the film, that had made it down through
there's
the
a reason,
reproductions.
we try to decontaminate stuff as much as possible, because one of the problems of when we send probes to other planets or moons is that if we find something, we have to really try to rule out the idea that we brought it with us. And, that's going to be, let's say we find some sort of microbial or some sort of form of life on Mars, there's going to be, a suggestion like, well, we sent the Viking probes there, probably 50 years ago or so, and maybe we re-inhabited it or something. And then we'll look at DNA or RNA analysis, whatever, to kind of get to the bottom of it. But it will never be this clear and easy thing if it's pretty simple.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's like there never is. There's only a second layer of questions. You never get to certainty. You just get closer to, well, it's looking a lot better for, and this is a weird metaphor to bring with it, but it's like that was the epiphany I had about doing work in television. Like, let's say you have an idea, your goal is to become a television personality. You start with an idea that you pitch, and then you wonder if they're going to pick up the pitch to do development footage, and then you do the development footage, and you wonder if they're going to like it enough to do a pilot, and then you do a pilot. You wonder if they're going to like it enough to air it, and then when it gets aired, you wonder if they're going to like it enough to buy a season. Then you buy a season, and then they're going to do it. Are they going to like it enough to do a second season? And it's like it just never ends.
No.
And there's never a congratulations, you're now a bona fide television personality.
Oh, and when we, if we've ever find life out there on Mars, particularly, the question will be, well, did it start on Mars and spread to Earth? Was it independent? Because developing independently is a much different question. Because if it developed independently, it means the universe is going to be teeming with life. If it had to spread from one planet to the next, then maybe it won't be. And so all these other, these questions, and all of them are exciting answers. And maybe we'll have an answer to that, because you know what happens in 8 weeks, gentlemen?
The Mayan calendar finally runs out for reals this time. This time, the Mayan calendar's rage against humanity is
Harold
personal.
Camping's prophecy comes true.
Yes, and the Heaven's Gate people will return. No, gentlemen, that is not what happens. If all goes according to plan, 8 weeks, mere 8 weeks, 56 days, if I'm doing my math correctly, SpaceX returns to space, puts the space back in the X.
Oh, that's right. So they haven't fired off a rocket since that one was lost, right?
Really lost. Just
Well,
pieces.
Well, okay. I'm sorry. By lost, I meant exploded into a billion chunks of rubble.
You don't have to be so graphic about it, Brian. Everybody has their mistakes.
Where
Mr.
is
Perfect
piece
here.
number 797? I'm just asking questions here. They say it's not lost.
So they basically, they shortly after, remember, Elon Musk said they figured out pretty much what they thought had happened, and now they've been able to remedy this situation to their satisfaction, enough so that they think they're ready to launch. And that's what's cool, is that part of the problem is when you're doing a government program like this, even though long after you have an idea what happened, it could take years and years and years before you would ever be able to go back into space or get something going again. Because one of the things that happens too is the process to figure out why things went wrong. With Space Shuttle Challenger, one of the issues was there were people saying, this is going to happen, this is going to happen, this is going to happen, boom, it happened. And then people are like going, well, how did it happen? And it's like, well, we didn't listen to the people who said it would happen. And then it takes
and also there's I think there's a big difference between manned space missions, because of the jeopardy that you're putting human lives into, but also you have to separate, the signal from the noise. I'm sure there were a lot of people shouting that they knew why the Challenger blew up before they were able to isolate, like, this is how it blew up. Also, this is the guy who was screaming it beforehand.
Yeah, it was the next day, the stock, I think, for Morton Thiokol dropped.
Wow.
Do you know about that?
No, I did not.
That was one of these, when they get into like wisdom of the crowds and the ability for like predictive markets or predictive things, that there was enough speculation, enough people who thought, in the aerospace, like, oh yeah, this is the thing we thought broke. And so like Morton Thiokol was like the one stock that dropped the most.
Well,
after.
and also, like, even if you don't know why, if you watch the Challenger disaster in slow motion, frame by frame, you could tell, you get a general sense of it definitely exploded on the solid rocket booster. It definitely happened close to the O-ring. You may not understand why that O-ring went, but if you're an investor, you're like, I know who makes those O-rings, and I don't know that, it's like, I don't want my money
making
sitting
no
there.
O-rings no mo.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But you looked at it, it's interesting. It was the stock that was hit the hardest of them all. Again, everybody's stocks, who was involved in that kind of dropped right after
again,
that.
here's my point: is there's two different things happening. One is the fact that these are not manned missions, right? And this is SpaceX's own money that they are deciding to put on the line, and of course that of their investors. But they are confident in their process going forward. To me, it's an extremely important vote of confidence that they're going back so quickly. But, and again, we're all tremendous fans of SpaceX here. let's just wrap our minds around what it would mean if they had a second failure in a row. How devastating would that be? And how big is this moment is what I want to know.
I mean, I don't think another one would be a good thing.
Right? But it
I
seems
think
like
that-
it would be considerably worse than the first one to me.
Yeah.
Well, I think you would begin to get more sustained questions of reliability. I don't think it would kill SpaceX, and I don't think that it would preclude them from recovering from it, but it would certainly create a more, at least in the media and public perception, especially because it will be pounced on so much by people who are very actively trying to discredit them. That like they are just not a solution. They are not a reliable solution for space travel.
I think that I have an idea. I mean, I know a little bit kind of internally what happened, or have heard things that happened, and sort of why this thing came about, and the idea is that they've tried to fix that, and sort of where these problems could kind of creep up, and then that moving forward, should something like that happen again, then you would probably have a big restructure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think SpaceX would have to show, like, the bigger sin would be that SpaceX didn't fix the problem.
Yeah.
And that's something that, especially in rocket science, is kind of the only goal, is identify problems, because it's such a complex thing to do, and address them sufficiently, and then continue to look for more problems.
So this next launch is when again, Andrew?
Sometime in mid-December.
Oh wow! So that is just around the corner. Is this because I believe the one that exploded was a ISS resupply mission, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. So are we worried about them having enough to eat, or is this another ISS supply?
No, we have multiple capabilities of
We're
resupply.
we're not to the Martian yet, where it's like we're not trying to get
They
them.
got a Taco Bell or something up there, they'll be fine.
Gentlemen.
So, real quick, while we're on the subject, I would love to get your reactions to the fact that this week, all the people who had current generations of Model S and Model X Tesla vehicles woke up one day to discover the future had downloaded itself overnight into their computers of their cars, and now all of a sudden they got autopilot on the highway. Press a button, please. We really encourage you to keep one hand on the wheel. But if you fall asleep, we'll wake you up. And if you don't, then we'll slow down and, stop in the middle of the highway. But in the meantime, what do you guys think of this? This is huge to me.
Musk told us this was happening. Musk had said when they showed autonomous stuff, he said, we're going to be putting the autopilot function coming in as an over-the-air air date. So we knew this was going to happen. And that's cool. He still says that like real autonomous cars are probably like 3 or 5 years away, because they're just, the really, really, really hard problems still haven't been solved, which is why they want you to have your hands on the wheel, because if all of a sudden there's an accident up ahead and there are people trying to wave traffic around, or there's guys in red vests and stuff, or a snowstorm, or any of these other things, your car is like, I don't know. And Musk was complaining too about LA traffic lines, because there are sections of highway, there aren't any, they're so faded away, you don't know where they are. And if you're trying to drive a car, you guess where you're supposed to be based on the cars around you. But
right.
It's absolutely exciting that they're able to put a feature in there like this. He doesn't have cameras all the way around the car. There's a lot of functions that it doesn't have that you might find in a Google car, but it's absolutely amazing that he can add this sort of software functionality.
But again, there is one time that I'm driving a car that I am most tempted to be a little bit distracted and maybe focus on other things, like the kids screaming or, checking my Twitter or whatever. And that's when you're doing long distance highway driving. And this, it doesn't say go ahead, get distracted. It says the car's got you covered. And that to me says that maybe now's a good time to check Twitter while you're on that highway.
And that's going to be what your lawyer is going to use as your defense when you sue Tesla.
So I think what this is just like the final boss, shiny and chrome form of cruise control.
Yes.
Like that, and that's how you should look at this, and not necessarily as a completely autonomous vehicle. Although it's certainly, if you barely have to squint, it certainly seems a lot like it. All that being said, what I'm actually more interested in is Elon Musk, who, when he's not befriending Jesse Pinkman on Twitter, has a tendency lately to just, go hashtag shots fired during these press conferences or interviews. He did it with Apple last week. And now, in the press conference about the autopilot feature, says that Google's solution for using LiDAR in their autonomous vehicles makes no sense. This is a direct quote in a car context. Musk is obviously somebody who has very strong beliefs in engineering solutions, and to his credit, is not just somebody who gazes off from the sidelines. He puts his own money behind it and looks to be building the future in the image that he believes. But what do we make of Elon Musk taking hashtag big shots at Google's LiDAR solution for autonomous vehicles?
Well, and keep in mind, even then, he's like, now, granted, LiDAR is great if you need a solution for, say, spacecraft, which we use LiDAR in my spacecraft company. But in my car company, it's overkill and it's dumb.
Yeah, I think, we're still trying to figure out, the biggest problems, I think, at this point isn't getting the data, the visual data, except in situations where like it's raining and others where you have low visibility. It's interpreting that and trying to understand, the difference between a bush that looks like a man, and a parked bicycle on the side of the road versus a bicycle that somebody's about to ride out in front of traffic. And that's where so many of these human instincts come into play, where we're very good at judging. And highway driving is very different from neighborhood driving, too. This system, he says, don't use it under 18 miles an hour. Over 18 miles an hour, things are much more predictable. Goes into list all the different situations we're on. Says there's not the full sensor suite that you would need for this, but that's when he threw shade at LiDAR, saying, I don't think you need LiDAR, but we certainly need more sensors. I'm reminded of, in artificial intelligence, it was like back in like summer of like 1968 or something like that. Marvin Minsky and some other people were really, really brilliant talking about vision. Like, we think we could tackle the vision problem in artificial intelligence over the summer. It was like a summer job, a summer project or problem to solve. And over, almost 50 years later, we still haven't solved that problem, because we realize it's a lot more than just saying that's a human shape, that's this shape, that's that. Evolution has had 1 billion years to evolve very adapt systems that are extremely efficient, using a minimal amount of hardware to figure this stuff out.
Yeah, I'm trying right now to find it. Here's what's significant to me. Like, yes, this is a very narrow application of this technology, but I would love to know what the percentage of traffic fatalities are on highway versus non-highway driving. Because I believe that because you're going at higher speeds, that's the most dangerous place.
Yeah.
But if again, we've talked about this before. People think it's going to take a long time for people to embrace self-driving cars. I think it's going to take 3 years of data before everyone freaks out and is
our difference comes between how you and I will embrace it versus government regulations and everything else. That's my question. Is where. Where will they be? And again, it's there. We can say, yes, there's an incentive for the government to do this, but that's also, I don't know. I don't have the answer to that as far as, are the politicians going to say, yes, we need to make everybody buy this now? Are we going to just, is the first thing we're going to, it's going to be a complicated issue. I think that we obviously know where the path forward is, but getting there.
Sure. Well, I guess my point is it's freaking rad that, as heated as our discussions have gotten, like starting this week, hard data starts pouring in of real world applications of this technology, and the success and failure rate of computer run, vehicles, I think is wonderful.
Oh yeah. And we have, and I would love to see sort of the data, because we know with, Mercedes has had collision avoidance radar built into their cars. I'd love to see some of the stats on that, to see that there's been, for a couple of years now, a lot of these little technologies incorporated self-parking and stuff, et cetera. And I think that, now with the Teslas and all that, it'll be exciting to see if we can get a lot more of that. Starts to get interesting.
It will be a very narrow application. We love Tesla as a concept, and I'm sure if we all came into the money, we would all buy Teslas tomorrow. But, there are only so many out on the road, since they are a premium product.
Everywhere here, though. But yeah, gentlemen.
Up here as well. But I suspect not as many in Peoria.
We ready for picks?
Yeah.
Yep.
Hey, man, I want to give a shout out to all the fine folks in the chat realm and Bryce Castillo, who got me excited to play a video game called The Beginner's Guide. I don't think I talked about it last week. I think we did it after Weird Things. But The Beginner's Guide is sort of, it looks like a DVD commentary on a set of unrelated games in which the main character talks about how these are all developed by an indie gamer named Coda, and over the course of the games, you get hints about the relationship of this narrator that you have and his relationship to Coda and what he thinks the game means, and then you get little hints from the way Coda plays or the way Coda codes the games that indicate that there's a deeper relationship, and I was left with a very complicated opinion about this whole thing. There was it's doubly complicated because the game itself is written by the guy who did the Stanley Parable, and he plays a version of himself describing these games that Coda, a fictional person, did. So I will say two things simultaneously. The actual Davey, the guy who coded and created the Beginner's Guide and the Stanley Parable, has succeeded massively well in an artistic sense, in that he put me in a headspace that made me simultaneously angry and upset, and there were aspects that I felt robbed of things, all of which I believe is something that good art can do. But the fictionalized version of Davey, I found myself mad at both the fictionalized version of Davey who's telling the story and mad at the fictional character Coda, who allegedly coded all this stuff, because I felt like both of them were falling short of their potential for different and ultimately stupid reasons. And it was kind of wonderful. I found myself angry. As a matter of fact, Bryce and I ended up speaking live on the stream. And then the next night, after having a full 24 hours to digest it, we ended up arguing even more, and arguing in that good way. Like, is this...
It was a good debate.
Yeah, well, I guess a debate. Yeah, we had a debate like Bonnie was like, well, I think they're clearly two halves of the same person, and this kind of Fight Club argument, and I think it was an indictment of the relationship between publishers versus creators, and
Let's
there
not go into
was
it too much.
Well, no, I mean that's fine, but I mean there was even an uncomfortable moment that I wondered if it was an indictment of me personally and the experience I was having by pontificating on someone else's work. It was really wonderful. I highly recommend it.
My pick is Goosebumps.
The movie. How was it?
I when I saw the trailer for the movie in the theaters, I'm like, this looks fun. This is really fun. Everything I saw from it looked really fun. And then when is it going to be good? Because it's cool. Like, Goosebumps is such an amazing franchise. How do you tie it together in a film? Because the books, they're fun books, but they're not exactly like rich in character or other stuff. It's just more like, here's this crazy thing, here's this crazy thing, here's this crazy thing, and now it's done, and you're like, oh, cool, that was fun. They did a wonderful job with the movie. It was tied together very nicely. It was basically put together by some of the same people who've been doing some animated features, and it was directed by Rob Letterman. I think Darren Limke was the guy who wrote the script. The first few minutes of it, when you meet, the new kid shows up and they're moving to the house, really well written. Did I just freeze?
No, you're good now. You're good. I mean, you did freeze, but you could just restart your video. But you're saying like that moment when the character comes in,
really well, like the characters. Like, I was immediately the characters I thought were really well described. The first 6 minutes, I'm like, yeah, I thought the characters were extremely well done. I was funny. I'm watching this, saying to myself, hey, I could watch 30 minutes of this without even getting to the characters, because everybody had their own was very well defined. And you get, Ken Marino in a very small role that's pretty funny, the way he keeps popping up. That never turns into anything more, but it doesn't need to. I thought as a script, it was a very well laid out script and a fun story. Jack Black plays R.L. Stine over the top. Nowhere nearly as well as, R.L. Stine when he really shows up on Night Attack is. But it was a good version of it. Not the canonical version.
Worthy performance.
Yeah. Never said,
He lives
poorly
alone.
wrapped blunt at any point.
Yeah. Boo.
But it was just a fun movie. I got the end of it. Was looking forward to seeing. I would see another one it won this weekend at the box office. It beat Crimson Peak, beat the Titanic, Martian right now, and I think it's going to do really really well. And I think that everybody should go see it because I think if we have a really fun franchise based on this, it's great.
How Jumanji is it?
What do you mean by Jumanji?
I mean, fun characters that you get invested in early in, swallowed up by a series of set pieces based on the creativeness of the things that are coming after them.
I think the characters are much more interesting. They're much more definable. There's a lot of funny. You really want to see the characters, and it's not about, oh, let's just cut to the spectacle, which is good. You're interested in them and their drama. And there's some ham-fisted stuff in here. Don't get me wrong. There's some stuff you go like, man, if they fix this, and there are plot holes that I'm sure that there's scenes they took out for expediency that you'd go, oh.
Oh man.
What I would say.
Yeah. You would just go, oh, and then you would
As
just
far
pause.
as just, I thought it had a lot more heart than Jumanji did. Jumanji is a very, very cold film.
Well, that's very, very good to hear, because that's when I first saw the trailer. That's immediately what came to my mind, which I thought wouldn't be a terrible way to rope in all that IP without making it super overly drawn mythologically to get there. But I'm happy to hear that it is more than that. I've heard a lot of really good things, and I'm excited to see it. And I think I'm really ready for the Jack Black feels like somebody that has always been so well liked, and for me, and Brian, having such an affinity for him, from his work in the '90s, in the early 2000s, it's hard to kind of separate where his second act is, where the Jack Black now is. Is it in drama? Is it you want him to be funny, but you don't necessarily need him to be Tenacious D over the top, gross out funny? I would be very, very excited if this, it blew up for him, and it feels like a good kind of stepping stone for a second act for Jack Black.
So is it a fairly understated version of Jack Black that we see on the screen?
No. Oh, he's over the top. I mean, his everybody else is very normal and real. His R.L. Stine is, a cartoonish version of R.L. Stine, and I think it works good. I think it worked really well for that.
Well, yeah, and I don't necessarily think that he can't do that, because I think he does it so well and so naturally. But to do it in a family franchise movie and not have it be cloying or make you feel bad about it, like Gulliver's Travels or something like that.
Sure.
I think is very, very good for him. He will always be able to be the silliest guy on screen.
Yeah.
Because he's just that charismatic.
Yeah, there's a funny kind of exchange there where he mentions, how he sold more books than Steve King and that, and it just kind of makes you wish, like, there's like some great kind of, quotes there. Like, so 400 million books, more than Steve King, and then somebody's like, oh, Goosebumps, aren't they just, children's books? Are they bedtime stories? He says, no, Goosebumps are books that keep you up at night in terror. And then, my favorite quote is, every story has three parts: a beginning, a middle, and a twist.
That's amazing.
A very interesting decision, though, to make R.L. Stine the central mover of that story and not invent some other thing. But I think it makes so much sense because he was so tied. Like, R.L. Stine, Goosebumps are just two words that so well go together. And when we first started doing the impressions on Night Attack, it was just because there is that brand recognition, and yet we know so little about him beyond, whatever interactions we had on the live action television show that they did. So I'm very, very excited to go see it. and especially since you said you liked it. My pick is I love politics. My new podcast where I talk about politics is called Politics, Politics, Politics. RSS feed will be up tomorrow, along with, hopefully, at some point this week, I'll have my big review of the Democratic debate. But we did get the first, I think, big, the big political debate sketches on Saturday Night Live. So my pick this week is the cold open for this week's Saturday Night Live, featuring Kate McKinnon's Hillary Clinton, which, for my money, is maybe the best political impression that Saturday Night Live has produced since Will Ferrell's George W. Bush, along with Larry David as Bernie Sanders in a surprise cameo, where he is basically not doing an impression of Bernie Sanders, but rather just doing Larry David shtick, which is
just inherently close enough to Bernie Sanders.
It's just so close enough that, and really it breaks down what I think was missing for all of their Obama impressions. Both Jay Farrow and Portlandia guy whose name escapes me, was that they were
Armiston.
never really able to hone in on the thing behind the facade, right? And all politicians have a facade. And so with Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders in the sketch, you see, Hillary Clinton, which is Kate McKinnon's Hillary Clinton is amazing in that it's like she is over prepared. She is not a real human being. Her first line in the sketch is, "I think you're all going to really enjoy the version of me that my staff and I have created for you tonight." Which is just brilliant. And, the Bernie Sanders, which is like, yeah, we just look at Bernie Sanders and we think he's Larry David. And he just does Larry David shtick, like, where should I rest my elbows on this lectern? Which is just super funny. And it's Saturday Night Live is never better than they are during political seasons. Some are better than others. And I'm very much looking forward to this one, especially based on the cold open. So that would be my pick, is go watch that because it's super funny.
Right on.
Yeah, it's with sometimes, like, some of the political impressions, particularly both the ones with Obama, was like they were afraid to cut too deeply. They wanted to still go to the press dinners or whatever like that and kind of be warmly greeted. Where with Hillary, there's so much out there on the surface of her that it's
where they can do a very incisive impression and still have her come on. And which is almost informs the impression even more that she does not register these feelings, and she is here to play along with the joke because that gets the demo pumped.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think everything they've done so far is great, and Kate McKinnon is just killing it. That impression just slays me every time.
Gentlemen,
Yes.
it's been strange.
No.
Stop.
No.
No.
Come
You
on.
didn't see that twist coming.
Yeah, there was a beginning, a middle, and a twist. Come on, give it to us. You got to take us home, buddy.
It's been weird.
Very cool, guys.
So I wanted to get the Goosebumps soundtrack, and I'm like, oh, you know what? Maybe I'll go back to Apple Music, right? And I go sign up for Apple Music, and I find out, oh no, it's not there.
Aw.
So I just unsubscribed.
What do they got against Goosebumps?
I know.
What do we want to do?
By the way, a pretty good weekend so far. A pretty good season here at the box office.
Oh, shoot. Let me take a look.
Oh, this year's going to be monster, because
Hey, for the record, separate from all of that, just thinking about the movie draft made me think of the one obligation I have is to watch The Leftovers tonight, and I am excited about doing it, dude. Season 2 of The Leftovers is like night and day. I'm really stoked about it.
Episode 2 really brought it back for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Brian, we're all idiots that we didn't bid that stupid Star Wars movie down lower in the draft. I was looking at, so they released today all of the exclusives that they have, with every movie chain. So every different movie chain, from AMC to Regal to the Alamo Drafthouse, all have different exclusives.
Exclusive posters. Oh, that's amazing.
So AMC will have a new exclusive poster every week until like January.
I mean, so you feel, I mean, the problem is, like, at the end of the day, I mean, yes, they have their sights set on #1 box office of all time, but that doesn't mean they're going to nail it, and there certainly doesn't mean they're going to nail it at the end of our winter draft season, right? So it's like they have to nail it. They have to nail it hard for me to win, and they have to nail it in the first, 55 days.
Yes. And if the movie's good,
Yeah.
the big question mark, if the movie's good, I think it's got a shot.
Yeah.
I mean, like, the buzz, what we are about to see.
I got to tell you, I don't know that and again, I'm sure I'm doubling down. I'm sure this is the sunk cost fallacy, but it's like, even at 75% of gross, I feel like I ever so slightly overbid. But I definitely feel like below that. I mean, what I did is I bought respectability. I bought the fact that I'm definitely not going to be last place. I bought the big question and the chance to have my name associated with it with pretty much no big failure. Like, I'm not going to end up looking like a chump. That's what it boils down to, is I just elected to not look like a chump no matter what.
You won the game.
But as far as a chance to win, it's still
You
big,
won.
big question.
It's going to suck the oxygen.
When does your winter draft end?
30 days after the last movie releases, which would be the last movie releases
February
on
15th.
Yeah, so February 15th.
Oh my God, yeah. Star Wars is going to eat everything.
Okay, but I only get 75% of Star Wars.
It's going to eat everything.
All right, we'll see.
I'm walking back to my apartment, okay? Door next door to me, right? There's this kid, Indian kid's there. And I see in front of the door, 5-year-old girl. 5-year-old girl knocking on the door, lightsaber behind her back. Okay? 5 years old, okay? And little boy answers the door, swish! Boom, 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 boom. I'm going to be Princess Leia for Halloween.
Wow.
Okay? That has been because, Disney they've come out with the new, they've done and made like the Lego versions of it. They've got the little, have you seen the new, like, the Princess and a Scoundrel and the new books they've released?
Oh no, that's adorable.
So they've retold Star Wars, like in tween speak and all
tale,
that.
yeah.
These kids are primed. They are more excited than we were for Phantom Menace to go see this thing.
Yeah. Yeah, no, fair enough.
Because it's more out there. Mm-hmm. There is a level of preparation that there wasn't before. And, like, all of what we've seen is them not trying. Like, it's them trying to keep things from us. Like, they are going to debut the trailer and open up pre-sale tickets tomorrow at halftime of Monday Night Football.
What?
Monday Night Football, a game historically one of the highest rated of the year between two major markets in New York and Philadelphia. These are
so can we just declare that we're doing After Things and that it started 10 minutes ago? Because
no, this could not be After Things.
Okay.
This is hideous.
All right.
No movie draft After Things.
All right.
But yeah, like, this will be massive. Also, it's set myself into an existential question of where I'm gonna. Now it's real. I can't think of where I'm gonna watch the movie. I got to figure out where I'm gonna watch a movie.
Hey,
I don't know where I'm gonna watch the movie.
Dude, guess where I'm gonna watch the movie. I'm gonna watch the movie with Riley Blanton of the Star Wars Reporter podcast.
Oh, really? Is he coming down to Austin?
He's in Austin for the area. He's like, do you want tickets? You want to go together? And I was just like, yes. He's like, how many? I was like, I can definitely bring 4 people. So, but if it's easier to get fewer, then, like, I'll take as many as you can get. I'll bring it, and it'll be great because I deeply love the fact that Riley accused me of being a Star Wars hater, and I'm like, MFer,
totally.
You don't even understand.
Wait, yeah. So we're doing LA, right? Like just so
Let's do
we're,
LA.
we're-
I just saw yesterday. I saw Goosebumps at the AMC. They have their Prime Theater environment, which is like the laser projection with the true black.
yeah.
Really amazing, and the seats are electric, so the seats like they recline, like your feet go up.
Just so we know.
You're like an astronaut, but you're afraid to get up and pee because you have
Just
to walk
like going
past-
to the dentist, only with lightsabers.
So are you gonna buy tickets? Should I buy tickets? Should I give me a theater and I'll buy tickets? What are we gonna do?
You buy tickets. I would
Okay.
say try for. We'll talk. We'll convene.
We gotta have a plan though. This is happening
I
tomorrow.
got a plan.
All right, we got a plan. We got a plan, you guys. We got a plan. I'm freaking out about this. I just wanted everybody to know.
Dude, it's happening. It's happening. And keep in mind, we are
learned
inches.
nothing. I've learned nothing since '99. Hands up if you've learned nothing.
Wait, no. I mean, first of all, hands up. Agreed. Yes, we've learned nothing. But more importantly, like, can you imagine? Would you guys have ever thought that we would be this close to release and still know so little about the story? Now, yes, you could go to websites and there's rampant speculation, and I just haven't gone there. But for everything else, like, stuff would just leak out and.
Yeah, well, that's the thing is like I actively avoid that stuff, and I'm hesitant to read any Star Wars. And I think the major sites have gotten smarter about not trying to put stuff in there because it becomes we've been burned by spoilers so much that a lot of us there's some people who are like, oh, I know everything happens. Like, well, yeah, you went to go look. Congratulations, genius.
Right.
Where I think that we have this sort of let's let it unfold for us sort of mentality. So.
Well, also, I think that there was a maturation of the movie news site industry that all spoilers weren't news anymore. That you could spoil every movie, and so the fact that like, oh look, hot spoilers used to be a thing in the late '90s, and now it's really not anymore because everything is available, and
It doesn't make watching it better.
yeah, and that's I think the market decided that there are sites for stuff like that where you can always find out everything, and especially the Sony leaks, basically spoiled almost every Sony movie, any twist in any Sony movie, up to and including the James Bond stuff that like, it's out there if you want it, but otherwise the mainstream ones, unless it's something insanely speculative like. Marvel is going to make a movie about a character that it's 8 years down the road or something like that. I don't think that spoilers are just necessarily newsworthy in general.
Yeah, agreed.
That's it. That's what I feel like right now. The Star Wars movie, especially since like they're just going to get everybody all frothed up, with that trailer. Which, a lot of people are saying, posters out today. Where's Luke? And I'm like, what if he's there? What if he's already there?
Well, and I mean, I can't even address that because already what I've heard, not wanting to hear.
Yeah, and I know nothing. I have not looked at anything.
Yeah.
Right before we do after things, we want to pick a title. We got some good ones here in the chat.
Ernest goes to Zimbabwe.
I like Science is Not a Facebook group. I like a beginning, a middle, a twist. But
Have you
that's
ever
also
seen a donkey show?
Jesus, FLS Carnage? What?
I'm with Ernest goes to Zimbabwe.
All right. I think it's spelled Ernest.
Yeah. I'm sure there are already Ernest there in Zimbabwe.
Fantastic. All right. Give me one to do that.
You got an angle you want to talk about for the after things?
Oh yeah, Brian, I got an angle. I got an agenda.
All right, let's go.
And I've got those things that you sent me.
Cool. We ready to begin?
Yep.
Oh.
Take it away.
Welcome to After Things, the podcast where we talk about things for creative professionals after do weird things. I'm Andrew Main, joined by Justin Robert Young,
Hello.
Brian Brushwood.
Howdy, folks.
Gentlemen, I am on the verge of finishing a book, not a big book, maybe it'd be like 100 pages or so. And what it is, it's a collection of some of my observations about writing and some of the little short essays. Some of the stuff I published, some of the stuff I haven't. And like unpublished includes a thing I wrote on how to write a novella in 24 hours, which is a thing I actually did and will be releasing soon after I edit it, because let's be honest, folks, I wrote this thing in 24 hours. And I wanted to figure out a title for it. I thought, man, I got a great title. How to Write a Book in 24 Hours. I'm like, that's a genius. I go type it into Amazon. A lot of other people had that idea too.
I want to know how many. I'm going to Amazon.com right now. Amazon.com, how to write a book in 24 hours. And I am seeing 43 results.
Yeah, and some of those are variations on that, but essentially it's the same damn title. Now, in my defense, most of those are also kind of like they're kind of like Kindle bait kind of things, like how to write crappy sort of books you can just flip around on Kindle, and like, hey, buy this book. I was more coming from the point of view as like treating like it's a marathon. It's writer's training. If you want to get really good at sitting on a keyboard and cranking things out, if you can sit down for a day and write an entire novella, you get very used to making decisions on the fly and not worrying about writer's block. And you might have something really cool, and it's a way to take advantage of limited amounts of time for it to be productive. That was my goal with it. Not like, hey, everybody, write a book a day, make 365 books a year. Like, no, like I really think you should focus on quality. But anyhow, so there I was like, man, well, what do I call it? I even made like a cool graphic with it and all that. I was testing the ebook on my different platforms and was so stoked to find out that I was totally not original. So then I'm like, what do I do? I'm like, well, I could call it like how to write a fiction book in 24 hours, because I hadn't seen that. Everybody's like nonfiction, like how to write a fiction book. It's kind of wordy. It looked good on the page, but it's wordy. I'm like, well, it's a novella. Novella is like an Italian word for a mini novel. So I could go with novella, and I'm realizing like, which is which. So I take screenshots of both. I send them to Justin. I send them to Brian. I send them to Bryce. Like a couple other people, like, hey, ask the brain trust. I sent it to the brain trust of about 5 people. And the response was mixed.
Oh, wow. I'm curious to hear of the 3 of us here who heard about it, if somebody landed on a different page than I did, because I thought it was obvious. My point when I read it was, if they don't know what a novella is, then they're not your target audience. So definitely the punchier title of How to Write a Novella in 24 Hours is the way to go. But did either of you guys feel differently?
I disagreed. Yeah, I thought that. Yeah, that novella is something that is ill-defined even amongst writers. I mean, I think there is a definition, but I think if you asked 10 people who considered themselves avid readers what a novella was, that you would get 10 different definitions. And I thought fiction book was just a little clearer.
I was sort of in the middle. I thought novella was a better one of the two, but I also thought...
You can't even be a tiebreaker here, can you, Bryce? Can't even
I kind of thought people would think novella and think like little supermarket novels, romance novels.
So what did I decide to do? I said, you know what? I've got a few Twitter followers, some people who are always happy to sort of chime in with opinions. So I went to Google Docs, made a little form survey, and said, hey, help me answer this question. And by the way, quick question, do you know what a novella is, just so I know? And also put in your email address, and I'll send you a free copy of the book when it's ready. And if we can pop, I don't know, for the live listeners right now, by the way, if you want to get a free copy of the book, go sign up for my mailing list at andrewmain.com, and I will make sure you're included in that window. So, but anyhow, I don't know if it's convenient to pop this up for anybody who's listening right now, but if you want to answer this, I can watch your results come in live, and we're getting close to 300 replies. In the first 10 minutes, I was at like 50 responses, which is amazing. Yeah. To get that kind of data back so quickly is exciting. And it's not that this has to be the deciding factor that I'm like, oh, well, everybody says this, but it does inform you. It helps you understand how do people perceive this, and am I making a good decision or not. I plan on using this going forward. I would love to, with like HarperCollins, be able to say, hey, let's use this survey kind of way as a way to get people invested in the books early on. I have a very, very active, group of people here. So, are you ready to hear the results so far?
Yeah.
Yeah. Can we place bets?
Well, I saw some of the initial returns. So,
Okay.
So
All right.
I will not. But Brian, if now that you have heard that you were outvoted 2-1 amongst the three, would you like to change your opinion on what you thought that the masses agreed?
No, now that you mentioned it, I did. I was 50, but like, and what's funny is I just assumed that once you get to 50 responses, my guess is the 300 responses were not significantly different. But that's my only guess that I'm going to say.
Bryce, did you get shown the thing?
Yeah, I also got a screenshot of.
Let's just find out what
weigh in on how big of a margin do you think that it would have expanded to? Because the first 50 to respond are often the most engaged.
Yeah.
And maybe the ones most engaged in me as a writer, where everybody else who follows after. And
I'm gonna guess the reverse. I'm gonna guess that 2-1 it was novella over fiction book, just because in the battle for titles, when people are gonna pick like pithy wins, the shorter the tighter the better wins, even if it's less clear what the benefit of the book is. Now there's a difference between people saying what they want out of a title versus what they actually will respond to when it comes to buying it.
Absolutely.
So what we're getting self-reporting of what people think a better title is, not necessarily what they would actually buy at a margin of 2-1.
And that's one of the reasons why, let's say, a company like Quirky, is suffering, or like is probably like, I don't know if they're bankrupt yet or not, but like Quirky, which was this consumers, people would vote on what products they thought would be the best, and they ended up manufacturing things like a special vent for your for your mirror in your bathroom, so it wouldn't get fogged up, that cost several $100s.
Oh, geez. Like in theory, they all think it would be great.
That's a great idea. And if I have all this imaginary money, I'll buy. But the real thing is, we know in real markets, you need to really risk something. It can't just be votes. You have to say.
And for the record, Steve Jobs is the king of looking at consumers and be like, you're all lying. None of you actually want this. I'll tell you what you want, and then you'll buy it.
No.
Yeah,
and that's
October 8th, Quirky moved into bankruptcy, bankruptcy sale.
So that's the key there, is like, where do people vote with their dollars? And so, I look at this and I'm like, all right, I have some data here, but what's it really showing me? And
by the way, real quick, the data, I didn't realize I'd only looked at the results. I had not looked at the quiz itself, but it says, help me figure out a book title. Which is the more compelling? How to write a novella in 24 hours? How to write a fiction book in 24 hours? Want me to send you a free copy when the book is ready? Type your email address below. And then my favorite is, do you even know what a novella is? Which I can't imagine anyone would freely admit no, they don't.
Oh, I will tell you how many people said that they didn't. Out of the 280 responses I have right now,
yeah,
a total of 23 people, approximately roughly 10%, said no, they don't know what it is.
Wow.
Which I could have absolutely, if I wanted to make that more scientific, I would have phrased it where, choose, what does it mean most to you? I would have phrased it differently. There are things, if I was doing this as a real scientific survey, I would have done things differently. But I did do a randomizer, so the question between novella or fiction book, it changes. So not everybody, it doesn't always appear novella first or whatever. But that being said, it's been a very good experiment, and I've got tons of people that I'm going to send free copies to. We're at 277 responses right now, and I will tell you the number of people who said fiction book.
Well, here, by the way, where can people go find this if they're listening to this podcast and they want to go find the survey?
In my Twitter feed. I mean, it's a
there we go.
bit.ly/YOLO/swag novella 420.
There we go. All right, yeah, just go find Andrew Mann on Twitter. And what are the results?
Results are, as we speak, I have 114 people say fiction book. Subtract that from 276, which means we have 152 say novella.
Almost
So
1 and
majority,
1. Wow.
But a real back and forth.
I mean,
Yeah.
a 60-40 split, I'd say that's fairly significant.
Oh, I mean, sure, yeah. I mean, it's certainly decisive, but yeah.
But it's not this, well, now the answer is clear to me, because then you start getting into, well, how do I parse this audience? How do I dissect this now? Because I go, well, who voted for?
To be honest, okay, so press pause on this. Almost every week, John and I put out a sales email for the new item that we have at scamstuff.com. Our goal is to have a new release every single week, and as we go through it, the conventional wisdom among direct sales folk is that you should spend as much time on your title as you should on the entire copy of everything, because the title matters very, very deeply. Unfortunately, we write these big sales letters and we see that our window on Friday afternoon is closing. And so we're like, crap, if we're going to do a proper A/B split campaign, for example, we have this birthday card that plays the happy birthday song nonstop until the batteries run out or until you destroy it, right? So we didn't know which is more likely to get opened, calling it best birthday card ever or worst birthday card ever. And so in a proper A/B split campaign, what you do is you send to some percentage, one version, to some percentage another version. Hopefully the same percentage, and you give a window of like 4 hours, but then you find yourself running out of time. It's like, well, screw it. Let's just release 50-50 across the board, and half of them will get one, half they'll get the other. And then, after the fact, we'll at least know which one performed better. Even when one wildly outperforms the other, and this best birthday card, worst birthday card is a good example, because one was a clear winner over the other, but it was by a factor of, I want to say 10% maybe or something, which again, that's enough that you should do it. But as far as actual views among people who opened it, we're talking about a difference of maybe 50 emails getting opened or whatever.
Well, and that's the challenge, because it's of the people who said novella, are they the ones going to buy the book, which was your point, before, or am I going to miss out on? Well, everybody who would say yes to novella buy it if it was called fiction book, versus would everybody who said fiction book go, I don't know what novella is, and ignore it? And that's that gets to be sort of the challenge here, and you can probably start to ask smarter, better questions, but at the end of the day, you just sort of have to go, okay, novella's got a slight edge. I like novella a little bit better, so I'll just go with novella, which is what I'd probably do. And Bryce, show them the cover.
Here we go. Boom! Ladies and gentlemen, How to Write a Novella in 24 Hours, and other questionable and possibly insane advice on creativity for writers by Andrew Main. And he did not write by Andrew Main. He just wrote Andrew Main.
I was thinking about writing by and scratching it out on the cover.
You totally should.
Too inside, though. So that's the book. That'll be, and again, it'll be like 100 pages. Or it won't be that much big of a book. And I'm going to give it free to everybody who signs up for my email list at andrewmain.com.
Now, this is an interesting question. Sunglow in the chat says, is there a reason for not using both versions? Now, theoretically, we live in an infinite universe now where you could release both versions, and whichever one sold better would be that one. But what are the downsides of thinking that way?
Here's the reason why. Because especially with the kind of audience that we have, the greatest benefit is having a mass of reviews, a mass of interaction on one product. The more you can push it on that one product, the better off you are going to be. And to spread it amongst two, I think that strategy is more left for like just the straight SEO, whatever is like hot, Bernie, the guide to Bernie Sanders, Donald Trump, Tesla, autopilot.
Yeah, there comes a point where you need to, when you're spending more time selling the thing than trying to make the thing better, and you have to divide your time, appropriately. So as you talked about with you should spend just as much time using, to figuring out the title of the, subject for the email. But it's also, I'm reminded of about 10 years ago, Apple was getting criticized and had their stock get downgraded by some analysts because they said, they're not spending enough on R&D. And they go, what do you mean? Well, they go, the industry standard is to spend X amount on R&D. And Apple was having record iPod sales, huge amounts of money. And there was no sane way they could have spent that money responsibly on R&D other than hiring tons of people and creating a bunch of noise and having to say no to a bunch of crappy products. And Apple was like, "No, we think we got our R&D thing, we're pretty good on this." And 10 years later, they were right. And that the idea of you need to do this because this, like, well, if you have that brilliant subject line right off the bat, but I mean, these are rules of thumb and understandably so. So long answer short, it's just easier to sort of settle on one. I have 277 people clicked the link and know I have a book coming out on the subject, and probably about 80 or 90% gave me their email addresses, and they're going to get a free book because they'll be probably the first ones to champion and love it. And for me, it's a great pre-launch for a book that nobody's even seen yet.
I think it's a great idea, and I'm really, really excited to see. Well, I'm excited to read it, and I'm excited to see how it does.
And it's going to be coming out maybe in a week, assuming the proof comes back good. Bryce, to the image.
Yes. Of. Dun, dun.
Yeah.
I decided to go with CreateSpace and do a CreateSpace version of the book and go through all the steps and all that to see how professional I can make it look. And I'm sure the proof coming back to me, I'm going to have some problems and need to adjust. But we will be having a print copy of Public Enemy Zero, clocking it at like almost, and I went to try to every effort I could to make it look as professional inside as I could as far as word count, blah, 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 all that sort of stuff, per page. And we'll see how well that thing works out. But that was another experiment. So.
And by the way, I mean, I don't know, maybe we talked about this when it first came out, so many years ago, but that's I was looking at that cover and I couldn't remember whether I was either in the hazmat suit or I had taken a picture of Andrew in the hazmat suit, and Andrew reminded me while I was in LA this week that it was indeed me. I'm running, booking,
dude.
Rage
So
virus.
So you're a cover girl. You're a cover model.
Oh yeah, look at that. I know, and they had to bag my face, just make sure it's still sellable. But
I think there's I'm trying to remember if there's a reflection on there of trying to remember, like, if on this face itself, I'm trying to remember if I put like a skeleton or something in there, like a skull or.
I think so, yeah.
But yeah, that was. I get into. Oh wait, you see my maniacal grin reflected in his face. Actually, like I'm screaming.
Oh wait, wow! I can't really see.
It's hard to see. Yeah, that's me there, like just screaming at him.
Huh. Was that a natural reflection or did
yeah,
you,
that was exactly what was happening.
That's amazing.
Yeah, everything is just totally manufactured there. I mean, I probably took. I don't know if I took. I don't. I'm sure I didn't use an iPhone, but I took the photo and just do that. I get into how to make covers, like how to make book covers in 10 minutes or less. Not that you should spend only 10 minutes on a cover, but how to have a bunch of ideas for covers.
Yeah.
And just I come up with a very simple formula to understand how to make a cover, and I break it down by taking iconic covers like Jaws and Godfather and other stuff, and say, okay, here's what's going on in here, and you don't really need to have people in your covers like I do unless you're doing like sci-fi books or fantasy stuff, and just break it down so make it less intimidating. I just try to take some of these rules that took me forever to learn and then explain them to people, because I just look at all the mistakes that we make, that I've made.
Well, so in regards to that advice, because I'm sure you factor in the fact that people are working, with a budget or whatever. What is your advice to somebody who is sitting on, let's say, a perfectly well-made science fiction story or whatever genre or whatever? Because you have a natural talent for doing good Photoshop work, and I think that's part of what in the early days made your 99-cent novels really pop. In the case that maybe somebody doesn't perceive that they're as good, or if they maybe unfortunately think they're as good but maybe actually aren't or whatever, what advice would you give to folks?
So the examples I show that are super very basic. I made each one in 10 minutes just by grabbing images off of like Wikipedia or whatever. And the advice is this. I mean, first is if you have $100 to spend, you can actually buy pre-made covers, designs by people that look really good, because they're artists who just sit there all day long buying royalty-free images or getting royalty-free image collections and stuff and turning them into stuff. And so for $100, you can buy a pre-made cover that looks amazing. If you want to spend $400 or $500, you can get a custom one that looks better than a lot of the stuff you see from professional publishers. But if you don't want to spend that, what you do is the basic concept breaks down into, and I'm going to pull up my actual the thing that it breaks down to is, if we take a look at, let's say, we could go along. If you take a look at, let's say, the classic Jurassic Park cover, okay?
Sure.
And you have, everybody knows it, but if, we have an image of it, it's the Tyrannosaurus Rex skeleton. It's
Well,
the skeleton. It's not
Yeah.
the
This is
actual-
that one on the far left is the first one of the book.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the one
there
in
you go.
front. That was designed by
white.
Chip Kidd,
Yeah.
who is the Alex Ross of book covers. This guy's amazing. Chip Kidd's done so many iconic covers, but they didn't, it's just, what if we take the silhouette? So we have two things going on in this cover. It's a Tyrannosaurus in silhouette, and it's a scary skeleton. He's alive. He's supposed to be extinct, but this thing is clearly on the prowl, on the menace to go eat something. And so it's dinosaur looking ferocious, but we'll make it a skeleton, something that should be dead, but it ain't dead. And that was all that it took. That then became the graphic they used for the movie and continues on through this way, through now to Jurassic World. So it's basically two simple elements. If you go look at the classic Godfather, Mario Puzo cover, designed by S. Neil Fujita, okay? If we take a look at that, it's a simple, one on the far left. What do we have? These letters, these old school that could be kind of Italian turn of the century letters, and a puppeteer controlling the letters. So what do we see? Somebody's pulling the strings. Somebody's in control.
Right.
All right? So simple graphic element, puppeteer, controlling the sort of ethnic or whatever sort of letters, right? Two simple elements are put together, and that's what it comes down to. If you go to Psycho by Richard Bloch, designed by Tony Palladino, it's text. It's completely textual. One on the left, that's the original one. What do we have? We have broken letters, right? Full, taking up the whole thing. So it's just the word dominating it. It's big. It's Psycho. It's broken. The two elements, broken letters. Jaws. Go to the original Jaws novel by Peter Benchley, and you'll see it'll be there you go, the one on the left. That's it. So what this is, it's not the classic movie poster with a very photorealistic looking shark. It's a much simpler shark. There are no teeth, but you see this creature shooting up from the bottom at a girl swimming, and it's all black.
Yeah.
And you get what do we know? It's attention. There's a girl and there's a shark coming towards this girl. So we know this is not going to be a happy meeting of the minds. The far left on the J actually looks kind of like a hook, which is another little subtle suggestion. But just basically that image of that shark and the girl, you know everything that this is going to be about. And so I go through and I create just how would I make my own sort of dirt dumb versions of this. And, I create my one, what would I do for big shark? And basically I just take a silhouette of shark jaws, again in black against red and then white letters, and evoke Jurassic Park, whatever. I do Wizard Boy, which is just this wizard hat that looks like it's got the stars, it's a silhouette of a wizard hat with the stars behind it. Fang Love, which is just this bleeding candy heart, and then Whipping Girl, which is my 50 Shades knockoff, which is a bouquet of riding crops. And then Leonardo's Secret, which is just like an X-ray inverted image of the Mona Lisa with her eyes blacked out by, the letters. And these are not brilliant ones, but most of the ones, I would arguably say, are better than most of the, the indie covers that come out there, because there's it's taking two elements, not more, and then reducing it to that. And
Sure. You know what? Maybe now's a good time to kind of segue into picks, because let's say you have an idea of this. Let's say you've got a very modest budget. Let's say you want to make something happen, and it's the difference between doing it and not doing it. I recommend heading over to 99designs.com. is one of the best websites. If you have ideas and you want to leverage the wisdom of the crowds, you can get a competition started. Basically, you say, here's what I got. Whatever you describe the nature of the book, you describe what you want to convey. You say, I'm thinking, a bouquet made of riding crops would be an amazing way to sell this. This is the market that'll do it. And you can, you offer your own prize purse. You could say, I'll give $299 to the winning design. And of course, the more money you offer, the more people compete. But all of a sudden, the next morning you wake up and there's 30 different designs. People putting together versions of it, and you're able to give hints. You're like, okay, you three are my top three, and here's what I like. Here's what I would like to see from each of you, and then finally you pick it, and then that same $300, you have elevated the entire creative process. You've gotten people to put forth their very best effort as they compete against one another, and that you are able to reap the benefit of it. I really, really like 99designs.com.
Absolutely. It's a great resource. And I just want to do a real quick thing to point out, too, is that there's a danger that some people will have. They'll say, oh, this is great. I can use this to design the book. And then when it comes time to promote the book, I'll go to Fiverr. And then like, oh, what's this on Fiverr? I can buy Amazon reviews.
Oh, geez.
Oh.
Yeah, that's probably not great.
You hear what happened?
No, what happened?
People got sued, laddie.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
Amazon is suing over 1,000 people for saying they'll post fake reviews on Amazon in support of your book.
Okay, but for the record, those are people that like accepted monetary compensation. Like they weren't a horde of independent podcast fans who just had some charismatic hosts suggest that maybe they should all go to certain books and leave 5-star reviews.
That's a legitimate thing. People are really excited about those books.
Okay,
We
good.
didn't.
Yeah, no, there's a difference between, hey, if you like it, go tell people.
Yeah.
Okay,
And,
right on.
Hey, somebody's saying, and notice they're going after, the people selling the reviews. In that, and somebody like, hey, pay me money, I'll put a positive review there. So Amazon's trying to kill, because that's one of the things is, and I think that happens a lot. A lot of some of these ebook authors, you see some of these titles that like they're 48 pages and they've got like 300 reviews. I'm like, I don't know. I'm suspicious of that, and because there is a magic formula that happens when you get up above like 70 reviews on Amazon, magic things happen. And by the way, if you haven't given good reviews to Brian's latest book or my latest book there,
For the record, let's not be shy. Go to Amazon.com. If let's say you don't want to give us any money, but give us a little bit of your time, you can give a 5-star review to Scam School Academy, which is my latest book, or what's the latest one? Name of the Devil, right?
Name of the Devil, or any other title,
The Devil.
Yeah,
Just search it. Just search Brian Brushwood or Andrew Main, and it would mean the world to us. And while you're at it, put Justin Robert Young in there, and you can leave a 5-star review for his book. A secretly gay president. I forget the rest of it. What was the rest of
Or
it?
it's a zombie invasion with the help of a. Oh man, what was the wizard? And his smoking hot daughter whose titty falls out at one point.
Yeah, that's the and of course, Go Home Santa, You're Drunk, which of course is about to have another round of relevance coming up on Christmas time.
It's holiday season. Go buy a bunch of dumb Santa stories. I put out.
Secretly gay president thwarts zombie invasion with the help of a wizard and his barely legal smoking hot daughter whose titty falls out at one point.
Yeah, it's a classic.
Don't review that. Review the books that actually matter. Don't waste your time.
So good.
I'm looking through 99 Design. It is amazing the quality of stuff here that you get, and when you have like a serious book release that you want to put out there, that like what you can get, like, I have like the designer who did my books for HarperCollins is also the guy that did Harper Lee's latest book, Go Set a Watchman, but. It was awesome to work with somebody like that, but I would love to be able to like ask Harper, like, hey, can we just see what happens here if we try this? Because I have like a big pool to choose from.
And by the way, I mean, like, it ain't, just Whistling Dixie that 99 Designs. Like, look at the people that have used it. There are major, startups and companies and people with a lot of money that, have just found really, really great work there. And really, it solves a lot of the problems with designers and graphic designers and web designers in specific that,
I mean, have you guys ever put together a project and you just, called a designer and then you talk to them about the project and they start feeding you, and it's like whenever you try to get feedback, they just try to bully you into liking things. The reason I did that is because of and it's like, I don't want to hear it. I hate it. I hate your work.
Brian, it's why I learned effing Photoshop. Okay, like I had a friend who was a designer, and he was just he went to school to study for it. He's so damn sure of his own instincts and stuff. And it's like you should be an arts major, not in marketing. And it just drove me nuts. And then I'm paying other people to do stuff where it's not like, oh, I disagree with your vision, but it was like, why it was just the smugness, the attitude, dealing with a lot of those people. And I'm just like, I'm And I can work with talented people. I work with really talented people. I work with two talented people every week. My buddies Ken Montgomery and Mary Jarris. No, but I mean, I absolutely love to work with people who are really talented, and I just go, just do it and come back, and they're always going to amaze me and be brilliant at what they do, and it's far better than anything I can do. And then there are other people who have some talent but have a lot of ego, which might describe me, honestly, but it just is annoying. I learned how to edit video and learned how to shoot photo. You know, like now I can go to people who are like great at that stuff and do it way better than I. But when it comes to graphic design,
It's very, very frustrating, and it's only because I have a few really, really good friends that are designers that I know enough about design that I can at least like have a general sense of what I want and what I don't want, and know when to walk away from a conversation. And like if it weren't for the fact that I felt comfortable talking to like Megan Fawn, who designed everything for The Contender, it would have been infuriating to put that much, considering how much we've invested in that now, in the hands of people that like, have, the first impression of your product in their hands. And if you don't agree with where it's going and they're trying to push an agenda on things, then like, that you don't agree with, it's insanely frustrating. And I love that 99 Designs, basically inverts that power structure and says, hey, look, you are artisans and you are artisans who deserve to be paid. However, you're going to have to compete and you're going to have to bend
It's
to
your
the
own
will.
personal Hunger Games. May the odds be forever in your favor. Also, have it by Tuesday. This is going out to be published soon.
and man, do professional designers hate that. And you get the cult of the amateur and the people that are driving the price down. Well, yeah, that might mean that because I've had friends that were like, I've had friends who were like web designers and stuff like that. They had clients they could make things easier for, and no former friends, by the way, they would not do it because they knew they wouldn't be able to charge as much per month. They wouldn't move them to like a WordPress thing or whatever because they wanted that paycheck to do that, or they wanted to, they wanted X number of revisions or whatever like that. And man, any system that's like that's ripe for disruption. We're seeing that now.
Well, and it's not that all designers are like this. It's
No,
that
no.
enough of them are like it for it to be a problem.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely. When it comes to picks, the pick that I'm going to pick for my pick is going to be the pick that I'm going to say right now. What I'm going to say, go to andrewmain.com, sign up for my mail list if you want a free copy of the book. But I just finished watching, I found it on YouTube. It was a BBC production, and it ended up there. And can't find it anywhere else, but it's on the YouTube. And if Socialists paid for, I'll watch it. The BBC production of the original Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, which was the radio play came before that, whatever. I loved Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy as the book. I never listened to the radio drama, but I remember watching the old TV show. So much more fun than the movie they tried to make. And all the episodes are up there. See how long that stays there, whatever. But I thoroughly thought it was fun, and I went to watch it again. And just what a genius Douglas Adams was. What a loss it was when he left this planet. But I highly recommend it, if you haven't seen this in forever, is to go check out The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. It's an episodic form. All the episodes are up there.
Hitchhiker's Guide was one of the most memorable book reading experiences I've ever had. I was reviewing the movie. And I decided I'd never read it, and I decided I was gonna I'll read as much as I can before I gotta go leave, because I think the theater that I had to review it was in Albany, and I was in Syracuse, so it's like an hour drive. And so I just went to go get my morning coffee. I had the full day of classes, and I had like an hour until my class, so I got a coffee and I sat down and I started reading the book, and I skipped all of my classes right up until I needed to leave to go watch the movie, because I was so engrossed in every little nook and cranny of that story. Douglas Adams, when you talk about funny writing, funny writing is so hard because like it's hard enough to make somebody laugh right in front of you. To tell a joke so funny or to turn a phrase so clever that it just rests in amber forever, and anybody who picks it up can get what you were saying and find it funny for the reasons you were trying to evoke is just insane. Like, and there's a reason why we don't see a lot of, you know, the top books on the bestseller list. The funny ones are usually very contemporary ones. They're about very contemporary things, or they're written as essays by very funny people that we find funny currently. Rare is the book, or rare is the author who is able to be so clever and so funny and have it read as fresh. I mean, when I read it, you know, decades after it had come out and become an institution, but just brilliant. Anybody who hasn't read it, just do yourself a favor.
It's funny because I find myself so partial to the journey. I mean, what an unusual story in that it began as a radio drama. The first time I ever read it was reading the script for the radio drama, which I believe was published after it was published as a book, as a series of novels, you know, and then separate from that, the television show and various movies and so on. It's amazing that so many people experienced it so many different ways, and that each one feels like, you know, there's a more right way, I guess. I don't know.
Except for the movie.
I didn't mind the movie. I don't harbor the same strange dislike for the movie that a lot of people have.
I don't hate it. It's just not as joyful as the other productions.
Yeah, and yet it also didn't have the finality element of it. Like that there is, you know, this, it has to start, you know, from kind of pure black to, and then it becomes this joyful kind of story. And yet it was never for me as black as it needed to be, nor as fun as it needed to be. And it just kind of rested in this mushy middle while still doing justice to, I think, some of the, you know, the core characters and concepts. Like, you know, the cast there, I think, is, you know, still very, very interesting for those roles. But ultimately, I think it did just kind of, you know, it just missed the mark.
Guys, I just saw this on my Twitter feed. There is a Humble Bundle right now. Humble Bundle, Goosebumps. Pay what you want for a collection of Goosebumps audiobooks. We've got 4, 9, 12, 15 audiobooks could be yours for $15.
Who's reading them?
Nice.
These books.
Nice.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think I'm buying this right now. Sorry, didn't mean to distract you right there, but you know, time's running out. Only 2 hours left.
Oh, hell yeah. All right. My pick for this episode is Daredevil. So I stopped watching Daredevil, not because I didn't like it or love it. I did. I just wound up getting busy and I stopped watching it. I started watching it again because I've been sick for most of this week. Daredevil and work. Man, is it so good. Oh my God. I'm just in love with it. And I'm just in love with where the world it created. And like, you know, it's one of those things that you watch so much television that deals with subject matter that you love and want to defend. And you're always just like, you know, I mean, like, it's good. And then you get in your fights with your friends and they're like, oh my God, wasn't it great on Heroes when they did that thing? And you're like, I mean, yeah, but it was just kind of stupid. And I don't know why they're doing this. And it's like, wasn't it great on Doctor Who when the doctor said, bleh? And you're like, yeah, but why did he have to go and do that? It's just like a weird thing. And then you watch Daredevil and it's just like, yes, oh my God, all these themes. Look, a comic book story can have rich and compelling themes, and every character, there is every episode revolves around everyone's balance, that everyone is a certain level of light and dark, and it is the conflict between them that is moving all these things forward, and they are all careening against each other to create a big gigantic conclusion. And when you think, now that I've gotten further into it, and you see kind of the themes that they are painting with Matt Murdock, you're like, oh my God, they are just explicitly setting up the Punisher to be the Punisher is his dark doppelganger, not Wilson Fisk. You know,
Right.
Fisk is his foil, you know, but like the Matt Murdock character, which is, I will do everything I can, I will be relentless in my pursuit, but you know, to kill is to go too far, because that gives in too much to my darkness, matches perfectly with the yin and the yang of, yeah, check on all that, except I definitely kill people all the time of the Punisher, you know, because they deserve it, and the world's better off with these people dead. You know, it's just, so good. And I was so excited to see the trailer for season 2, and to see the big money quote on the recap that they showed at New York Comic Con, that also showed the images for the new season, was "Get Aboard the Hype Train," which was written by Victoria McNally, aka at VQ Nerdballs on Twitter, a longtime fan of NSFW show and Night Attack.
Oh, that's amazing! I did not know that. That's huge.
I was so excited to see her excited about that. So yeah, I'm super pumped by Netflix. Netflix is in. You know, it's funny because they shed a bunch of, or sorry, they missed their expectations for subscribers this quarter. But I just kind of wonder, you know, how much that has to do with, like, they got to keep pumping out a steady stream of awesome, engrossing, original content so people keep watching it. And it feels so rad as a consumer to have that machine with that kind of money have their profit motivation be, no, we got to put out not just stuff, but good stuff.
Yeah, dude. For the record, like recently, Netflix announced that they were going to raise the price to, I think, $9.99 from $7.99 or $8.99. Still worth it. Still worth it. You could raise it to $20, and I'll give up my Netflix over my cold dead flint fingers, man. It's like just the content, the originals alone merit it. It's so good.
It's such a great approach they took. And you know, years ago when they first launched their streaming service, their pundits were like, well, are you going to be selling videos too? And they're like, no, we are not going to sell videos.
Speaking of which, bit of a controversy. Are you guys going to watch Beasts of No Nation? Because apparently they've got a lot of upset movie theaters at them.
Well, the story says there are a lot of upset movie theaters, but nobody cared. It was a non-controversy where they decided to do a limited release, put this into theaters, you know, so they could qualify for Academy Awards. And journalists like, upset movie theater. They didn't care, you know. It was, I think it was such a it was the Netflix hype machine.
Yes. If you put Netflix in a headline, people will click on the headline because people are interested in Netflix. Like, yeah, that is a dumb controversy. They literally just want Idris Elba nominated for an Oscar, and they're going to put a tremendous money and PR machine behind him to do it. So, you know, that's what that is all about. And also it's like, yeah, you know, that's they want people to watch it on Netflix. Like, that's what they want.
There is no theater owner was going, ugh, you know what we needed this weekend? The Martian? No, not the Martian. Goosebumps? No, not Goosebumps. Crim's like, no. Beast of No Nation. That's what was going to be again, I'm sure it's a fantastic film, but they weren't like going, oh my God, if only we could have had this, you know?
Right. Yeah, I mean, like, Steve Jobs, which might have the biggest name recognition or crossover potential of a indie film, you know, quote unquote, is very slowly scaling up its theater count. I don't think that the economics of a gritty African child soldier drama is going to get people flocking to the theaters. Like, you know, it's whatever.
By the way, on the subject of Steve Jobs, I hear it's a great movie, but apparently, technically, Goosebumps is the more accurate biography.
I need to see Steve Jobs because I really want to say it, even though I haven't seen it. And this is just know that when I say this on Twitter, it's going to be a preconceived notion that I'm going into watching Steve Jobs with. But I believe Steve Jobs will be the greatest and most accurate Aaron Sorkin biography ever produced. I feel like there's just Aaron Sorkin so well known for imbuing so much of himself in these great, these
Aaron
obsessed
Sorkin, yes,
with great flawed man stories that I just kind of feel that this is just Aaron Sorkin working out a lot of his own pathos about like, well, you can't get over these certain things. It's like, so what are the relationships that you have with the people in your life, Aaron?
I've had two people who've seen it and then give me reports on it who knew nothing about it. Like, wow, one guy walked away comparing him to Pablo Escobar.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, in a Facebook thing, and I go, well, that's kind of harsh. And this person got upset that I said that. And I said, I'm not criticizing review, but I'm like, that is a harsh comparison for you to walk away from. And I had another friend that's like, oh no, you'd really like it. And I go, does it have this kind of, does it talk about like when he later became a great family man and all that? No. I'm like, well, maybe it's not the whole journey. Maybe I don't know.
I mean, the argument, that has been made is that it's not supposed to be accurate. It is a fictionalization of somebody that has a tremendous stature and casts a tremendous shadow on our modern landscape. I am fine with that description of it, but I don't blame people that were close to him or people that have followed his work for being upset with the movie. Like, I just think this is such a weird argument that, like, people who are like, oh, it's fiction, why are you getting upset? It's like, okay, yeah, no, that's fine.
Well, two things. One is, I'm not seeing it. I'm speaking in ignorance. The impression I get is a very good depiction of young Steve Jobs, of what was this guy like at 23. And then they carry him over through the rest of it, which is not what the people around him said. No, he was a different guy. And this is, the Isaacson biography, these other stuff, they just sort of capture on, well, look at this guy. And they're used to people being the same throughout. That's it. But the argument, like, well, it's fiction. Well, then don't call it Steve Jobs. You're calling it Steve Jobs because nobody will see it if you make up a different name. That's where it gets into this, But again, I encourage everybody to get their own opinion about it instead of listening to me because I drank the Kool-Aid.
It is one of those things that
Steve Jobs is such a jerk stories.
The ongoing thread of the movie and really what he gets what has gotten people upset is that Aaron Sorkin admittedly could not get past the fact that Steve Jobs had this very fractured relationship with his the mother of his daughter and his daughter through the first years of her life and he, upon seeing the movie, or maybe reading the script, I can't remember which, the real Lisa Jobs told Aaron Sorkin, could you please just make it a little nicer? Because it was not this terrible for me growing up.
Wow.
So it's, again, I feel this. My pre-prejudice going in is that it will be the greatest Aaron Sorkin biopic about Aaron Sorkin that Aaron Sorkin has ever created.
Yeah. Gentlemen, I've degraded my signal considerably because I just download all of my Bumps audiobooks.
Oh, God. Yeah, all right.
That's all right.
It's been after.
It's all right. It's been after.
He just couldn't help himself. He got his hand caught in the cookie jar.
Sorry.
I saw the screen light up your face, and then immediately your video clicked down. I was like, oh, he's doing something.
I'm looking at, Real Media circa 1998 here. Real Audio. Oh, my God. The video.
Yeah, dude. Real Media.
Yep. All right. Well, thanks, everybody.
Yeah.
Very good show.
Good news
Yeah.
is Return of the Mummy is already downloaded.
Ooh.
What's that? What's already
This
down?
Return of the Mummy is already downloaded. I got that.
No.
Right on. Oh, there's new teaser footage for Star Wars.
Very cool. Bye bye.
Bye,
Bye,
guys.
folks.